All rise, Planeswalkers. Your supreme judge, Theoric 6, presiding over more Magic the Gathering Arena. I hope all of you have studied your scrolls on FlipsideGaming.com, utilizing promo code 6 for 10% off on orders over $10. It's a good deal. It helps support this great law-abiding country. Today, we are going over the Addendum mechanic, the budget version, although this was not the most voted for, nor was it the easiest to build. It's the last one to do. Holy crap. Budget Addendum. I mean, this video is just gonna not do well anyway. My analytics, they're suffering. My children, I don't have kids. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Anyway, this deck was surprisingly, not surprisingly, hard to build. The base is actually kind of fine. It's the fact that you miss out on two very important things when you're building a control deck. You miss out on your sweepers, because the majority of good sweepers are freaking rare, and you miss out on your win conditions. Luckily, we do have some ways to work around that. So I kind of cheated with this one, and I built two different but similar versions. This is what I will consider the base version. It is essentially a blue-white spell addendum-based control deck that tries to utilize Murmuring Mystic and get value off of that. And luckily we have Azor, Nezahal, and a Glacial Fortress from the blue-white New Player Experience deck that helps us along. That said, since the majority of the cards are shared between each version, I will talk mainly about this version, discuss a few of the things that are on the sideboard, and then give you a brief overlook on the other version. So, in this, we're playing 4 Revitalizes. It's an instant, it gains us life, and it draws us a card. All of those things are incredibly important. The gaining life is very important against not dying against aggro. Drawing a card is essentially always important to make sure we don't run out of gas. And the fact that it's an instant means it works with Dovin's Acuity. Summary Judgment, it is an instant, which means it works with Dovin's Acuity, and it does deal 5 damage to a tapped creature. If you are using it for the addendum, then that means you probably already took damage, but that's kind of fine. You only ever need, actually want to utilize the addendum mechanic if you have a Dovin's Acuity already out on the field. Otherwise, you're totally fine to just cast this at instant speed. And that's the same with pretty much all of these cards that I'm going to talk about. Arrestor's Admonition is very helpful. It returns a creature to its opponent's into its owner's hand, so they do have to recast that spell, which can be very helpful gaining tempo early game. And if you cast it during your turn, you get to draw cards, which is very important. Code of Constraint is similar, except that it's usually just better to play it on your turn anyway, because it does functionally the same thing, in that you're not taking damage in a single combat step, right? So being able to just make it so it's locked down for a turn and drawing a card naturally is fantastic. Dovin's Acuity, it gains life and draws cards. It's very important. For what it's worth, this is a May trigger. Always put it back in your hand. If you have enough cards in your hand, you're probably going to want to be discarding lands anyway, because you're probably just overflowed with lands. So Dovin's Acuity just draws you cards and gains you life. Kind of like the reason we're able to play this deck is that Dovin's Acuity is at uncommon. I really do wish that a Dovin's Acuity either gains you 3 life or only costs 2. The fact that it only gains you 2 life is kind of a spit in the face. Having your opponent discard a card is so much more valuable than gaining 2 life that this card is nowhere near as strong as Disinformation Campaign. Acuity needs literally just 1 more life tacked on there, and I think this would be a very strong card. But as it is now, it helps us survive, but barely. 4 Murmuring Mystics are our main win condition. We're casting a bunch of instants anyway, so being able to utilize the bird tokens as some sort of way to not only stem the tide early game, but allow us to push through and end up killing our opponent late game is helpful. Ixalan's Binding, sometimes there are things that just need to go away forever, and they're usually called Planeswalkers. Even though we're going to be playing this in casual mode, you still come across Planeswalkers. We get 1 Settle the Wreckage. Because it was in the New Player Experience deck, if you have access to more Settle the Wreckages and or Cleansing Novas, play them. Play them over the other sleeps, because that is what sleep is essentially doing. It is playing a very poor man's, and that's what this is, right? It's a poor man's version of a blue-white control deck. So if you have more, play them. Sleep taps them down and hopefully buys us enough time to win the game. I should note at this point, I did not win any of my practice games to milling, which is the other version, nor to actually killing my opponent with combat damage. People just concede. Potentially, you could just annoy your opponent enough that they just leave, which is helpful. And sleep helps that a lot. Your opponent might get frustrated that they have no creatures, and then they just leave. Sphinx's Insight, actually not that bad. It draws you 2 cards, which is helpful, and you're never really that angry to play this on your main phase. Since we're not running counterspells anyway, playing this in your main phase is not that big of a deal, and it gains you some life. Depose Deploy, probably the strongest card in the deck, because it combos so nicely with Murmuring Mystic. This is kind of like the turn the tides card. If you have a Murmuring Mystic and a couple of tokens out already, this gives you 2 more tokens and a decent chunk of life to start being able to put the pressure down on your opponent. Depose can be used in a pinch in order to save you a decent chunk of life and to draw you more cards, but usually you want to just deploy on your main phase, gain a bunch of life with Murmuring Mystic, and just attack your opponent. Azor the Lawbringer helps against control, but frankly, usually you just lose against control because a real control will beat this because they have removal, and removal gets rid of Murmuring Mystic, and that's kind of our win condition. So kind of unfortunate, but Azor does technically help in like mid-range matchups where you're able to attack with it and draw a bunch of cards and get a bunch of life. And Nezahal is kind of similar in that it's difficult for control to deal with. Not impossible, but difficult. And you're going to be able to not have a maximum hand size, which is really nice in a deck that draws a bunch of cards. And you're going to be able to, blink it out of existence if your opponent does try and remove it. Then this is our mana base. We're running fewer gates than before just because we want to be able to run Memorial to Genius. And for what it's worth, we draw so many cards that it has never really been a problem. The one Glacial Fortress is helpful, but in this deck, unlike the others that I've played, this one doesn't care too much about having the rare lands because of the amount of cards that we draw. Memorial to Genius is a help in a pinch to draw more cards, but you usually shouldn't need them. So then we'll talk really briefly about some of the cards that I have here in the sideboard. Essentially, this is a different package that you can use in place of Murmuring Mystic and the other large creatures. It's the Famished Paladin, Sorcerer's Wand, and Squire's Devotion combo deck. So what you do essentially is you give Famished Paladin lifelink using Squire's Devotion, then you attach a Sorcerer's Wand to it. It can then deal 1 damage, and since you gain life, you untap it, etc., etc. The thing about that is you then need to survive even longer. So personally, I don't suggest doing that, but it is something that you can do, and it is a technically budget version since they are all commons and uncommons. Seal Away is something that you can use. The fact that it doesn't work well with Dovin's Acuity makes me not love it, and that's the reason I didn't put it in the deck. If you find that it's just better than Summary Judgment, oh my gosh, I didn't put my phone on silent. If you find that it's just better than Summary Judgment, definitely feel free to place that in there. Blink of an Eye, very helpful in certain circumstances, but you do need to pay 4 in order to draw a card and bounce something, whereas Arrester's Admonition, you don't. So that's why I have this. That said, Blink of an Eye can get rid of other things like Planeswalkers or, opposing, what is the word I am looking for? Opposing Ixalan's Bindings. And it can also bounce Murmuring Mystic in face of a removal spell for a little bit cheaper. So that is something that you can look out for. Wall of Mist is an early defense mechanism if you find you need it. I don't like it because I try to keep the amount of creatures in the deck to a minimum and try to maximize the spells. Cold Water Snapper. If for whatever reason you don't want to run these, you can run Cold Water Snapper. We have access to these, so you don't really need to, but it's a cool turtle. I don't know. And then, of course, Bolas's Clutches. I had this in here before I realized that these 2 were in the new player experience decks. If you want to just annoy the crap out of your opponent and kill them with their own cards, Bolas's Clutches works. That said, I'm also going to talk very briefly about the other version of this deck. This version utilizes, it's slightly different distribution, but it has a couple of Wall of Lost Thoughts to mill your opponent for some, and then Psychic Corrosion. Why, you might ask? Because we're drawing a bunch of cards anyway. Psychic Corrosion, it can mill your opponent. I'm going to try both versions in this video just to show you how both of them play out and how they're slightly different. But I'm not going to lie, the deck's not great. It works. I think I won 40% of my games. I won 3. Did I play 8 or 7? I don't remember. But it does. It is functional. And the weirdest thing about the Azorius Guild in this set is that there also aren't very many good things to upgrade. Have fun taking my wall, I guess. There aren't great upgradable cards with it, so I'm not entirely sure how exactly I'm going to upgrade the Addendum deck when there aren't fantastic cards to do so with. It's probably just going to look like a sad... this is like mono black. I don't think sleep is going to matter too much in this matchup. Yeah, we'll just pass. It's probably just going to be like a blue-white control deck that sadly uses Teferi and also just still tries to maximize use of like Dovin's Acuity, which I don't love. Like, I really don't, but it is kind of the best thing to do. I probably should have gotten rid of Arrester's Admonition because my opponent is making me discard. Luckily, though, my opponent does have small critters that I don't have to care too much about. I could Summary Judgment. But no, I think I'll just pass here. This is the first time I'm coming up against a quote-unquote large amount of discard, but my opponent seems to be stuck on mana, so hopefully we can take advantage of that. I mean, I could Judgment here, but I don't see a need to. I'm going to do something strange and just, like, deploy and try to race my opponent. Because they would theoretically put me to 20, and then I'd put them to 18, etc., etc. And next turn I can get another deploy down. My opponent could have... Oh, sure. So that's an interesting use of Moment of Craving. Of course, my opponent doesn't necessarily know that I'm going to be playing such a strange deck, but... yeah. It does leave me vulnerable in that I can't, like, draw cards, but... yeah. My opponent could have Golden Demise, but if they do, they have to kill their own creatures. Playcrafter? Eh, sure. That is something I can put back in their hand with Arresters. Don't know if I want to. Yeah, I need to draw some actual cards. Okay. So next turn, they're probably going to play out the Playcrafter, sack their Burglar Rat, after damage, of course. Then I can... Interesting. Okay, guess they didn't want to do that. I was going to say then I can Code of Constraint to tap down the Playcrafter and then kill it with Summary Judgment, but my opponent wanted to do this first, even though I'm going to be attacking in the sky the entire game. Kind of want to keep the island in hand just to make sure I can discard that. Alright, there's the Playcrafter. Sure, sure. Yep, sacking the rat. Don't mind getting rid of one of my Thopters all that much. Sleep is something that's probably not going to be needed. I do think I Code of Constraint here. And just Summary Judgment. That deploy is very nice to see. It's not going to untap during his turn. So it's possibly better just to deploy now. Yeah. This is kind of the weakness when you don't end up drawing the Dovin's Acuity. I would love to get... Ooh, Twilight Prophet. So that has to die. Which is what Sleep is for. It's good that we saved this. Nope, 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 nope. Die! So getting Psychic Corrosion against the mono black deck would be helpful. Getting Dovin's Acuity would be... Getting any of the myriad things that draw us more cards would be very helpful. We are empty-handed. For what it's worth, we did have to discard. The Well of Lost Truths would have helped. Cast Down's incredibly rude. But that's the only real card that we've had to discard so far. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Hey, Sphinx is inside. There we go. Let's start getting this draw train rolling. Alright, Nezahal is a thing. Don't really... Settle the Wreckage is helpful if I ever need to cast it, but should be okay. Very helpful that we're not running up against... oh, wow. They're gonna be sad that they did that. Very helpful that we didn't run up against, like, a super annoying deck. Could settle here. I'd rather not. Other Sphinx's Insight. I kind of want to be able to protect Nezahal, so I think I'm just going to Sphinx's Insight here. Okay. And I don't think I'm going to play a land this turn, just so that next turn I can essentially guarantee a Nezahal cast and be able to discard some nonsense. Because I could Settle the Wreckage this hand if I wanted to. Or this field. Vicious Rumors. Incredibly Rude. Darn, that would have been nice to have. So now I kind of can't settle. But, luckily, I still have a nice life buffer from the amount of life gain I have. Alright, so we can go ahead and Nezahal here. If our opponent has another Chupacabra, then I can discard essentially my entire hand to blink Nezahal out. What are you doing? Go away. Murder. Rude. Alright, so I can blink this out. And those were all lands, so it's not too big of a deal. I do hope that they don't have another Chupacabra in their top, like, 19. Yeah, they can keep Poisoner back on defense. Psychic Corrosion, helpful. Yeah, I'm just gonna play out Psychic Corrosion. Not really a reason to attack here. Corrosion should be relatively hard for a mono black deck to deal with. So hopefully this will be a win. Would love to draw more cards. But, you know, you take what you can get. Ooh, that Azor is, one spicy meatball. Yeah, I think I just cast. Am I actually going to win with real damage? Kind of a non-bow with Nezahal, but eh. I can attack and draw a bunch of cards. So, what are you buying? Eldritch Reborn? Well, I get to draw a card, which is helpful. Just gonna sack the Nezahal because I can draw a bunch of cards with Azor. Yeah, attack for one. See if I care. Alright, play a land. Attack. X equals, yes. Take action. Let's see. That's -3. So that's 8, 9, so 6. Yeah, I'll just do 6. Okay. Am I stupid? 4, 8, 9. Okay, very strange that it didn't auto-tap my lands for me. Oh yeah, look at those. Look at those triggers. I did forget to mention that Azor works really nicely with Psychic Corrosion. Delicious. Alright. Let's go ahead and discard that. Cool. I'll go ahead and discard one of these. I'm not gonna lie, I'm surprised that this is quote-unquote working out. And it's probably all because of the fact that my opponent is playing a relatively not aggressive deck. So let's see. 17. I can definitely hold up Settle the Wreckage. Dovin's Acuity. I need to draw, what, 9 cards? Ooh, that is fewer now. My opponent can get anything back from their graveyard or mine. If they got Azor, can cast instant search spells during that player's next turn. I would still be able to Binding it. 15. I'm at 11. I could just binding this now. Take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I would rather settle the wreckage. Let's see what he ends up getting. Probably is going to be Azor. I think that's the correct decision. Yeah. Dump one of my lands. I love how we drew so many cards. Poisoner, sure, sure. Vampire. Unfortunate, but should still be fine. Does my opponent attack with all? They do. You really should not search. You should fail to find. Okay. Okay, Dovin's Acuity is helpful. Let's do Dovin's Acuity first. Alright, just a land. That's fine. Go down to 6. And we binding Azor, so we don't die. And I can't play this now, but I can play it on their turn. Sure. 6 cards. So they should be just, like, dead on my next turn. I think I'm going to respond to this with Code of Constraint. Because it draws me a card, essentially just guarantees that I'm able to kill my opponent next turn. Because it'll be 2-4, and then I draw 1, it'll be 4 more, so. Should be a win. Which, I'm not gonna lie, incredibly surprised by. Usually my opponent just concedes. Hey, like that! Turn your books. No, that was terrible. I was trying to do a Snape. Class, turn your books to page... What's it, 366? 460? I don't know. Who cares? This is a hand. Going second, which is always unfortunate. But, we have Acuity into Insight. I think this is fine to keep. If we had Revitalize, it'd be a lot better, but we don't, so, eh. Another black deck, alright. Interesting. Ah, it's Golgari. Alright, this is the Murmuring Mystic version, which I think is significantly worse against Golgari. What? I was gonna say because of the amount of removal, but... What? Nope. We're playing Pirates. We're playing against Golgari Pirates. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't see that coming. Golgari Pirates. Well, it's something new at least. Alright, I'll keep taking damage. It's painful. I'm gonna try and cast Murmuring Mystic next turn. But it's probably gonna be met with, dying. I would love if my Murmuring Mystic survives, because then I have Deploys to cast. And Deploy is a fantastic card. Don't you kill my Mystic, please. Doo-doo, doo-doo. I am not going to block, because I don't want it to die. Leave my Mystic alone? Ah, this is Golgari Pile. Gotcha. Man, they're playing, like, not one-ofs, so that's good. Keep hurting yourself. Alright, so we're going to go and deploy. That'll trigger both of those. I'll gain some life. Never going to be able to block that. Play out a Guildgate. never attack. We'll probably start blocking things. They can, for what it's worth, use Pilfering Imp to get rid of my Dovin's Acuity, but at this point, I'm kind of relying on Mystic more than Dovin's Acuity. That's going to be hard to deal with, though. Yep. Let's see if they do choose. I did forget about the Poison Temperature. Let's see if they choose the Acuity, though. They probably should. Eh. Deploy is also decent if they don't have an answer to Mystic. They did choose the Acuity. I would absolutely triple block that Poison Tip Archer. Do I block anything else? 2, 4, 5. I'd go down to 6. No. Because the other deploy will help. 2, 3, 4. Be on 6 next turn. 6 doesn't help that much. Just, yeah, keep draining yourself. More life. Land, I guess. No attacks. That other Poison Tip Archer is going to be annoying. I'm going to have to Arrester's Admonition at some point. Yep, can't block those. Should have played the other Archer first, I think. I don't like the idea of blocking with my Mermaid Mystic, so I'm just going to block there. It's functionally like taking the damage, except it gets it off the board before he plays another Poison Tip Archer. Playing Menagerie. I don't like the cut of this guy's jib. Excuse me? The dude can dome himself from his own Gultas. He's playing Ruin Raider in a deck with Gulta. Alright. Definitely going to put that back in his hands. Go away, please. I can definitely try to, like, Alpha Strike at some point. Let's see, he has one blocker. Does it gain life too? No. So I don't think that's enough just yet. Next turn I can Alpha. I'm at 9. Yeah. I'm really hoping that my opponent domes himself with their freaking Ruin Raider. I have Menagerie and Gulta in the deck. Dude's playing freaking Gulta, man. I'm not blocking the... Oh, wait. I have to, don't I? Fudge. Oh, well, I'm triple blocking this. 2, 4, 6, 8. Crap. I'm just dead, aren't I? Fudge. No, these don't have to die. So that's 2, 4, 6. Shoot. Okay. Will you calm down, game? So I'm taking... So I could do this. Not really a point in doing that. Not really a point in doing that. 2, 4, 6, 8. So this would be exactly 8 damage. Alright. Let's hope that my opponent hurts themselves a lot with Ruin Raider. And that I'll be able to kill them. Take a lot of damage. That's not a lot of damage. Why have you done this? Alright, we literally have to attack my opponent this turn. There's nothing I can do about it. Crud. Not really a reason to attack with Mystic, right? But, yeah, no, I'm dead. Darn. The Ruin Raiders. It drew so well for him. Wait, what? Oh, I guess he could just take the damage and not care. Yeah, that's a darn. I'll give that one another shot. Sure. Kind of land light, but we are running 25 lands. And the Revitalize and Depose help in drawing more. I just heard a sheep. Alright. Apparently, canonically, sheep are on Amonkhet. Let's go and do this now. Not a land. Incredibly rude. This does need a target, so I kind of hope my opponent plays a creature. Did we keep Portly? Probably. Do I care? Not really. Oh, no. Okay. I thought it was the mill deck. Can I please draw a land? Thank you. I thought it was the Persistent Petitioners deck. I did think about making that, like, the mill version of this, but you just need to dedicate too many slots to the Petitioners that I felt it was not prudent. So is this mono blue? No, okay, they're just missing some green. Did they get the green? They didn't get the green. Very helpful. Ow. Go away. I'd like to draw more cards. Those aren't lands, though. Those aren't lands, though, Calrissian. This is, probably gonna be a loss there, Chief. Oh, yeah, they got the green source, This is definitely not good for me, eh? I'd say I'm in a real bind. Ooh. Wow. Respecting things. Getting in the real damage here. Ow. Please stop. Please, I have a family. I'm just too greedy. I kept a greedy hand, and I'm paying the price. Yeah, this is not looking good for me. Ow. And the concession. It's fine. The majority of people probably aren't watching this part anyway. They'll just skip to the packs. Oh, Zagana. And by... Well, those are both going into the Adapt deck, the upgraded version. That said, I would like to thank my lovely patrons. As you can see, I changed the layout because I've been running out of room. I'm probably going to have to change the layout more and more as time goes on. But tomorrow, you guys should be in for a nice treat. I'm going to play the Ooze deck, a deck that just tries to get as many copies of the Ooze onto the field as possible because it's hilarious. Wait, I didn't say thank you. Especially Salamander Draga, if you'd like to join them and supporting the channel. You'll find links to that down in the description below, along with links to my Discord server and my 8th Hub account. Hope you guys liked this video. If you did, go and tap that like button. Add a subscription to Mana Pool and cast a comment in the comment section down below. We'll be landing in Portland shortly. If you look out the west side of the airplane, you'll see the Denver River. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Until next time, I'll be one.